Toyota has built over 200 million engines, but not all of them were masterpieces. Some of these power plants became legends for their unstoppable reliability, while others earned a reputation for turning garages into oil-soaked nightmares. Stick around as we're diving into both sides of Toyota's legacy, the engines that made history and the ones the company would rather forget. From bulletproof diesels to oil-burning disasters, these are the 3 worst and 4 best Toyota engines ever built, and the stories behind them are wild. Let's start where things went horribly wrong, the engines that made even Toyota fans lose their patience. Number 3. 7MG TE 3-liter. The 7MG TE is one of those engines that sounds legendary until you start living with it. This turbocharged inline-six was the heart of the Toyota Supra Mk3, the car that came right before the era of the famous 2JZ. First off, the numbers weren't bad at all. It made around 232 horsepower and 240 pound-feet of torque, which was solid for the late 80s. Toyota designed it to feel fast, smooth, and ahead of its time. But as with many things that look perfect on the surface, this one had a catch that turned into a long-running headache for owners. The problem started with the head gasket. Around the time Toyota was building this engine, the automotive industry banned asbestos. And that forced engineers to come up with a new gasket design quickly. The rush showed. Toyota didn't test the replacement properly, and before long, owners were seeing leaks, overheating, and some pretty costly failures. The 7MG TE became known for blowing head gaskets almost as fast as it built boost. It was frustrating because the rest of the engine had real potential, but that one weak point dragged the whole reputation down. The good news is that fixing it today is easy. Replace the old gasket with a metal one, use stronger ARP head bolts, and swap out the rod bearings, and you suddenly have an engine that feels solid and dependable. It's almost ironic how simple the fix turned out to be. If Toyota had done it that way from the start, the 7MG TE might have gone down as one of the greats instead of one of the cautionary tales. But Toyota wasn't done making engines that frustrated owners. Number 2. 2AZFE. So, the 2AZFE engine looked like Toyota had finally nailed the perfect balance between power and efficiency. This was the 2.4-liter inline-4 they brought in to replace the old 2.2-liter 5SFE that used to sit under the hood of pre-2000 Camrys and Solaris. It was lighter, smarter, and made a solid 160 horsepower with 162 pound-feet of torque. It sounded like progress, but then things quickly went sideways. The 2AZFE ended up becoming one of those engines that looks great on a spec sheet, and then ended up driving owners crazy in real life. The problem? Oil. This thing drank oil like it had a hole in the tank. The 2007 Camry became infamous because of it, landing on just about every most unreliable used Toyota list you can find. Even the RAV4 got dragged into the mess, and before long, Toyota had to admit there was a problem. They actually extended warranties for a whole range of models from 2007 to 2013 just to calm everyone down. Fast forward to today, and these engines are old enough that they come with a few extra issues. Most of them leak oil now, which wouldn't be such a big deal if they weren't already burning it to begin with. So if you own one, it's not just about changing your oil on time. You've got to keep an eye on it, because once the level drops too low, things can get expensive fast. It's the kind of engine that reminds you not every Toyota story has a happy ending. And that unhappy streak hit hardest with Toyota's next mistake. Number 1. The 3VZE engine. Back in 1987, Toyota rolled out the 3-liter V63VZE engine for the 4Runner, the T100, and a few other pickup trucks. It was part of the VZ family, and Toyota really seemed to believe this motor would handle some serious off-road work. It had that classic 60-degree V-shape, a cast iron block for strength, and aluminum heads to keep things light. Without a doubt, it sounded tough, but once it hit the road, or rather the trail, the cracks started to show. With just 150 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque, the 3VZD never really lived up to the rugged image Toyota wanted for its trucks. Drivers expected power, but what they got was an engine that always felt like it was holding back. The real trouble, though, wasn't just about performance. This thing had issues, a lot of them. It became known for its head gasket failures, worn timing belts, starter contact problems, unreliable EGR systems, and even burned exhaust valves. That's a laundry list no owner wants to hear. The head gasket issue was by far the biggest headache. Around this time, Toyota had stopped using asbestos, which was a good move for health reasons. But the company cut corners by using too little of the molybdenum coating that replaced it. The result was constant gasket leaks that made these engines overheat or lose coolant without any visible signs. The problem got so bad that Toyota eventually had to extend warranties for vehicles with this engine. It's a perfect example of how one small cost-saving decision can haunt a brand's reputation for years. Alright, enough pain for one day. Let's switch gears and talk about the engines that made Toyota untouchable. And if you're into deep dives like this, stories about cars, engines, and the legends that built them, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more. Number 4. 4AGE. The 4AGE might not sound impressive at first. It's an inline 4, small and simple by today's standards. But when Toyota launched it back in the early 1980s, it completely changed how people looked at four-cylinder engines. This little motor showed that you didn't need huge displacement or forced induction to have fun behind the wheel. It came packed with technology that was ahead of its time, including a twin-cam setup and a 16-valve head, which gave it a level of precision and responsiveness drivers weren't used to. For the era, that was a big deal, and it set the stage for what modern performance engines would become. Toyota built the 4AGE for almost 2 decades, from 1983 to 2002, and during that time, it found its way into a long list of cars. The early 16-valve version made between 110 and 140 horsepower, while the later 20-valve variant pushed closer to 165. It wasn't the most powerful engine in the world, but what made it special was how it delivered that power. It revved freely, responded instantly, and had a sound that made enthusiasts fall in love with it. Even today, decades after production ended, the 4AGE still has a strong following. It's reliable, easy to work on, and built to last, with many reaching close to 190,000 miles without major issues. Whether it's powering a vintage Corolla or being swapped into a track car, the 4AGE proves that smart engineering can make even a humble four-cylinder unforgettable. That legacy of smart engineering roared even louder with what came next. Number 3. 2ZZGE. The 2ZZGE is one of those small but mighty engines that managed to build a loyal following over time. It came out in 1999 as a 1.8-liter inline 4, and Toyota kept it around until 2006. After that, Lotus stepped in and continued building it until 2011. The whole thing was made from aluminum, which made it lightweight. And Toyota dropped it into several cars, most famously the Celica GTS and the Matrix. Depending on the setup, it could make as much as 190 horsepower, which, for an engine this size, was impressive. What really made people fall in love with the 2ZZGE was how eager it felt when you pushed it. The power delivery was sharp, the revs climbed high, and the sound had that signature mechanical whine that made driving fun. Lotus saw that potential immediately. They took the same engine, added a supercharger, and fitted it into the Elise and Exige, turning a reliable little motor into something that could push up to 240 horsepower. That collaboration gave the 2ZZZGE a whole new reputation, proving it could hold its own in a pure sports car. Even years later, the engine still has a bit of a cult status. It's easy to find, simple to work on, and surprisingly strong for its size. Many enthusiasts swap it into the 2000 to 2005 Toyota MR2 Spider because it fits so well and gives the car new life. For an engine that started small, the 2ZZGE left a lasting impression far bigger than its displacement. But Toyota's next masterpiece didn't just impress, it defined an entire era of performance. Number 2. 2JZ-GTE. The 2JZ-GTE is the engine that turned the Toyota Supra into a legend. It's a 3.0-liter, turbocharged inline-six that became the benchmark for reliability and power in the tuning world. Built with a cast-iron block and aluminum heads, it's one of those rare engines that can take an incredible amount of punishment without breaking a sweat. Toyota produced it between 1991 and 2002, and during that time, it built a reputation for being almost bulletproof. The twin turbos give it that smooth, linear pull that car enthusiasts still talk about today, and when it spools up, it feels effortless, almost silky. This was the engine sitting under the hood of the Supra Mk4, the car that defined performance for an entire generation. What makes the 2JZ-GTE so special isn't just its power, but its potential. With basic modifications, it can handle power levels most engines would never survive. That strength is why so many of these engines are still being swapped into other cars, even decades later. You'll find them under the hood of Scion FRS coupes, BMWs, and even old drift builds, because people know they can count on it. It's one of those rare engines that blends old-school toughness with refined engineering. Everything about it feels overbuilt, from the block to the crankshaft. Toyota might not have realized it at the time, but when they built the 2JZ-GTE, they weren't just making another motor. They were creating something that would outlast the cars it came in and define an entire era of performance culture. That idea of an engine outliving everything around it wasn't new for Toyota, though. Their 3B diesel had been doing it for decades. Number 1. 3B diesel. When people talk about Toyota's most reliable engines, there's one that always sits at the top of the list, and that's the 3B diesel. It's not flashy, and it was never built for speed, but that's exactly what makes it so respected. The 3B belongs to Toyota's B series of diesel engines, and it earned its reputation by doing what diesel engines do best: working hard, lasting forever, and asking for very little in return. This was the kind of engine you'd find under the hood of the Land Cruiser 60 series, and in plenty of other trucks and industrial vehicles that needed dependable torque over horsepower. The 3B produced around 98 horsepower and 166 pound-feet of torque, which doesn't sound like much, but it delivered that power right where it mattered most, at just 2,200 RPM. That low-end grunt made it perfect for crawling up rough terrain or hauling weight all day long without breaking a sweat. It's a 3.4-liter, 4-cylinder, overhead valve design, built more for endurance than excitement. Owners would often go hundreds of thousands of miles before even thinking about a rebuild, which says everything you need to know about its durability. This engine was made for people who value reliability over everything else. It won't help you win a race or make a dramatic entrance, but it will start every morning, pull whatever you hook behind it, and keep doing it for decades. The 3B diesel is the definition of an engine built to last a lifetime. And that wraps it up for today's breakdown of Toyota's best and worst engines. Did you find this video helpful? Tell us in the comments. And click here for our next video. It might just take you down another rabbit hole of wild car stories and mechanical secrets you didn't know you needed. Thanks for watching.